The turning point of letting go. Imagine for a moment that you've spent your entire life holding on, gripping tightly to everything you've been told is essential. You've accumulated achievements, relationships, success, and expectations, convinced that this is the key to happiness. But deep down, a quiet tension begins to build. The pressure to keep it all together, to prove yourself, to stay in control, is relentless. And then one day something shifts. It's a moment so quiet, yet so powerful that it catches you off guard. You're standing on the edge of everything you've worked for, yet, for the first time, you feel no desire to hold on. In fact, the thought of letting go almost feels like a relief. Your mind, once overwhelmed with the chaos of what's expected, begins to slow down. And as the weight of all your burdens lifts, a strange peace starts to settle in. You've reached a point where the very act of releasing everything you thought defined you becomes the most profound act of self-love. But here's the twist that will shock you. It's not about giving up. It's not about abandoning your responsibilities or your dreams. No, this is about finding freedom in the spaces you thought were empty. This is about letting go of the attachments that have kept you trapped in cycles of stress, worry, and self-doubt. The real freedom lies in the release, in the surrender. And once you start, you realize peace doesn't come from control, it comes from trusting the flow of life itself. So, let me ask you, what if everything you've been trying to control is actually what's holding you back from the joy and peace you've been searching for? What if the key to your happiness is simply learning to let go? Stay with us, because what you're about to discover might just change everything you thought you knew about happiness. If this resonated with you, and you're ready to uncover more about the Buddhist wisdom that could transform your life, hit that subscribe button and join the Buddhism in Every Moment community. By subscribing, you'll help us continue creating these deeply transformative videos that guide you to inner peace. Don't miss out on more insights that could bring you the peace you've been seeking. Subscribe now and let's begin this journey together. Part 1. The unseen weight we carry. We carry so much. If you pause for a moment and truly reflect on what you're holding in your life, you might be surprised by the weight of it all. It's not just the tangible things like your job, your relationships, or the demands of your daily routine. It's something deeper, something less obvious. It's the weight of your thoughts, the constant, insistent mental chatter that fills every waking moment. How many of us have experienced the silent spiral of overthinking? The kind where you obsess over a conversation you had hours ago, wondering if you said the right thing, if you smiled enough, if your words were misinterpreted. We replay conversations like movies, dissecting every word, analyzing every gesture, thinking that somehow by doing so we will have control over how others perceive us. And then there's the waiting, the endless waiting for someone to call, for someone to text back, for someone to acknowledge us in some way. All of these things seem small on the surface, but they accumulate over time. And before we know it, we're drowning in a sea of unnecessary worry. But what if I told you that all of this, all of these mental burdens, are not just unnecessary? They are the very things that are weighing you down. Imagine, just for a second, what your life would be like if you could release the need to control every single aspect of it. Imagine if you didn't feel compelled to analyze every decision, to second-guess every interaction, to wonder what other people are thinking about you. What would that feel like? In truth, we are all living under the illusion of control. We like to think that by overthinking, by planning every moment, by anticipating every possible outcome, we can somehow avoid disappointment or discomfort. But the more we try to micromanage life, the more life seems to slip through our fingers. The truth is, no matter how much we try to control, there will always be things beyond our grasp. And the harder we cling, the more we suffer. Take a moment to think about this. When was the last time you broke down? Not because of what happened, but because of what you couldn't control. Maybe it was a missed opportunity, an unspoken word, or the overwhelming pressure to meet someone's expectations. It wasn't the event itself that triggered the breakdown. It was the weight of your own inability to control it. We break because we are not in control of the uncontrollable. So why do we keep trying to hold on so tightly? The simple answer is that we've been conditioned to believe that control equals safety. That if we can just predict the future, plan every step, anticipate every move, then we can avoid pain and disappointment. But what happens when life doesn't go according to plan? We end up feeling anxious, frustrated, and overwhelmed. We exhaust ourselves in a futile attempt to control the uncontrollable, and in the process, we lose our peace. Here's the paradox. Peace is found not in control, but in release. It's only when we stop trying to control everything that we start to experience true peace. Peace comes from acknowledging that there are things in life that we simply cannot control, and that's okay. It's a lesson that many of us struggle with. This idea that we don't have to hold everything together. It's okay to surrender to the flow of life, to let go of the things that no longer serve us, and to accept that we are not meant to carry the world on our shoulders. Letting go doesn't mean giving up or becoming passive. It means finding the courage to step back and trust. Trust that things will unfold as they should, that life will move in its own direction, whether we try to control it or not. The truth is, trying to micromanage every aspect of our lives only causes more stress and less peace. We need to make space for the things that truly matter, our relationships, our health, our inner well-being, not the constant worry about things that are beyond our control. Take a moment now to reflect on your own life. What are you holding on to too tightly? What mental weights are you carrying that are not yours to carry? What expectations are you trying to meet that are causing you unnecessary stress? Is it time to let go? To release the need to control everything and allow yourself to simply breathe, to live, to be. True peace starts when we acknowledge that not everything needs to be controlled, and that some things, when let go of, make room for the most beautiful moments of our lives. The process of letting go may not be easy, but it is the most freeing thing you can do for yourself. And the best part is, you don't have to do it alone. You can begin this journey right now, in this very moment, by deciding to release the unnecessary weight you've been carrying. It's time to let go, and in doing so, to finally find peace. Part 2. The Buddhist approach to letting go. In life, we accumulate a vast number of things, possessions, responsibilities, relationships, and emotions that we carry with us every day. But what happens when all these attachments start to weigh us down? When the very things we cling to for comfort become the chains that limit our freedom? This is where the Buddhist principle of letting go comes into play, offering a path to liberation that might seem counterintuitive but is profoundly liberating. At its core, the Buddhist teaching of letting go is not about abandoning what truly matters to us, our loved ones, our passions, or our purpose. It's about recognizing that the things we hold on to unnecessarily, attachments, past regrets, fears, and expectations, only create suffering. And while it may seem like letting go means giving up or losing something, in reality, it is a process of freeing ourselves from the burdens we don't need to carry. It's about disentangling ourselves from the toxic attachments that tie us down so we can truly experience life with clarity and peace. When we think about attachment, we often associate it with love or deep care. After all, we are attached to our loved ones, to our dreams, to our identities, and to the things that make us feel safe and secure. But attachment in Buddhism doesn't necessarily refer to the love we feel for others. Rather, it speaks to the unhealthy fixation on things that are temporary, things that, if clung to too tightly, will only bring pain. Attachment is the desire to hold on, to possess, to control, to make something permanent in a world where nothing is. In contrast, non-attachment is not about indifference or apathy. It's about learning to love without clinging. It's about caring deeply for those we love, for our work, for our dreams, but not allowing those things to define us or to control our peace. Non-attachment is the ability to experience life fully, without the desperate need to possess or control the outcome. It's about recognizing the impermanence of everything around us, and understanding that this impermanence doesn't diminish the value of what we have or love. It simply allows us to experience those things in a way that's free from the fear of losing them. Letting go, in this sense, is not about abandoning the things that matter. It's about releasing the attachments that make us fearful, anxious, or insecure. It's about learning to see our relationships, our possessions, and our identities as transient, rather than permanent fixtures. The moment we realize that nothing is truly ours to keep, we start to find peace. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring about others. It simply means we stop holding on so tightly, so desperately. When we stop clinging, we create space for true love to flourish, love that is free, pure, and unburdened by fear. To begin this process of letting go, mindfulness plays a crucial role. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, of observing our thoughts, emotions, and attachments without judgment or attachment. Through mindfulness, we can begin to discern which attachments serve us and which ones are weighing us down. We can identify the thoughts, people, or circumstances that cause us stress and suffering, and we can choose to release them, not because we don't care, but because we realize they no longer serve our peace or growth. Consider the difference between essential care and toxic attachment. Essential care is the love and attention we give to the things that matter: our family, our health, our purpose. This type of care is nurturing and life-affirming. Toxic attachment, on the other hand, is the obsession with things we cannot control, the constant striving for approval, the fear of rejection, the inability to accept change. Toxic attachment is driven by fear, insecurity, and the desire to control the uncontrollable. It's this kind of attachment that causes us pain, because it keeps us trapped in a cycle of worry and anxiety. Through mindfulness, we can begin to differentiate between the two. We can learn to care deeply for the things that are important while letting go of the attachments that no longer serve us. This distinction is the key to unlocking peace, because when we stop carrying the weight of unnecessary attachments, we free ourselves to experience life with more clarity, joy, and love. Letting go, then, is not a loss. It's a liberation. It's the freedom that comes when we release the things that no longer bring us peace, and we make space for what truly matters. The more we let go of what we cannot control, the more we align ourselves with the flow of life. And in that flow, we find serenity. We stop struggling against the current, and instead we let it carry us. We stop fighting against change, and instead we embrace it with grace and ease. This journey of letting go is not easy, and it's not something that happens overnight. But each small step we take, each moment of release, brings us closer to the peace we seek. It's a process of shedding the layers of attachment, fear, and insecurity that we've built up over the years, and returning to a place of inner calm and clarity. As we let go, we begin to experience the world in a new way, more deeply, more fully, and with a greater sense of love and compassion. So, how can we begin this process of letting go? It starts with awareness. It starts with noticing the things that weigh us down, whether it's a toxic relationship, an unhealthy belief, or an overwhelming need for control. And then through mindfulness, we can begin to release them one by one. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Each time we let go, we create space for more love, more peace, and more joy. And in that space, we find freedom. As you reflect on your own life, ask yourself, what are you holding on to too tightly? What attachments are weighing you down, preventing you from experiencing life as it is? What would it feel like to let go, to release those burdens, and to live more fully in the present moment? Letting go is not easy, but it is the path to peace. And when we choose to release the things that no longer serve us, we create room for the love, joy, and freedom that life has to offer. Part 3. Simplifying the mind, finding true happiness. There's an undeniable weight we all carry, not just physically but mentally. We constantly fill our minds with thoughts about what others think of us, what we should be doing, what we haven't done yet, what might happen tomorrow. Our minds are constantly racing, flooded with ideas, worries, and judgments. And yet amidst all of this, we seek something simple: peace, calm, and happiness. But how can we find these things when our minds are filled to the brim with mental clutter? The irony is this: In our pursuit of happiness, we often complicate our minds even further. We overthink, overanalyze, and add layers of judgment to our thoughts. We tell ourselves that we need more to be happy, that we need to perform better, look better, have more approval. We take the simple moments of life and turn them into complex webs of worry. We think that if we can just figure out the right way to live, we will finally find peace. But the truth is, happiness doesn't come from adding more. It comes from simplifying, from clearing the clutter, and from reconnecting with what is truly important. Take a moment to reflect. How often do you find yourself spiraling in your own thoughts? How often do you replay conversations in your head, wondering if you said the right thing or if you should have done something differently? How often do you find yourself overthinking a text message, a social media post, or a decision you made days ago? We all do it. We complicate our own lives by clinging to unnecessary thoughts and judgments, convincing ourselves that the more we think about something, the more control we will have. But in reality, this mental chaos only leaves us feeling drained, anxious, and far from the peace we long for. We tend to complicate our minds in the search for validation. We think that if we can just meet certain expectations, whether our own or those of others, then we will feel worthy enough or happy. But constantly seeking approval only adds layers of mental clutter. The desire to be liked, to be praised, to be seen in a certain light can consume our thoughts, clouding our judgment and leaving us disconnected from our true selves. This pursuit of external validation becomes a never-ending loop. The more we seek, the less we feel fulfilled and the more tangled our minds become. But there's another way. The answer lies in simplicity, the power of a simple mind. When we strip away the unnecessary thoughts, the judgments, and the expectations, we make space for the kind of peace and joy that is rooted in the present moment. This is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts without judgment, to see them as fleeting and temporary, rather than getting lost in them. By practicing mindfulness, we begin to untangle the mental knots we've tied ourselves into, and we reconnect with the simplicity of being. The joy that comes from letting go of mental clutter is profound. When we stop trying to control our thoughts and stop adding layers of judgment and expectation, we create space for a deeper sense of peace. It's not about ignoring our responsibilities or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about freeing ourselves from the unnecessary mental weight we carry. It's about learning to be present in the moment without constantly worrying about the past or the future. And in that presence, we discover true happiness. Imagine, for a moment, what it would feel like to have a mind that isn't constantly buzzing with thoughts. Imagine if you could sit quietly, without the need to constantly fill the silence with worry or judgment. What if you could simply be, without needing to prove anything to anyone or even to yourself? This is the essence of a simple mind. It's not about being passive or disengaged from life. It's about being fully present without the distractions of mental noise. It's about embracing life as it is, not as we think it should be. Mindfulness practices are powerful tools to help us clear the mental fog. One of the simplest practices is simply to take a few minutes each day to sit in silence. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and observe your thoughts as they come and go. Notice how your mind races at first, but as you focus on your breath, you begin to quiet the storm inside. It's a simple practice, but it can be incredibly powerful in helping to bring clarity and calm to your life. As you continue to practice mindfulness, you'll start to notice the difference between thoughts that are useful and those that are simply distractions. You'll begin to see the patterns in your thinking, the constant need to seek validation, the endless cycle of self-criticism, the worry about things you can't control. And as you notice these patterns, you'll be able to release them. You'll learn to let go of the unnecessary thoughts that weigh you down, and in doing so, you'll make room for peace. The simple life is not about denying the challenges of the world, nor is it about retreating from reality. It's about recognizing that we don't need to carry the weight of the world in our minds. We don't need to hold on to every worry, every judgment, every expectation. The more we let go of the need for constant approval and validation, the more we free ourselves to live authentically, to embrace the beauty of each moment, and to find joy in the simplicity of being. When we stop seeking validation from others, we stop complicating our minds. We stop needing to prove ourselves, and we begin to live from a place of inner peace. The beauty of living simply is that it doesn't require more. It simply requires us to be present, to be true to ourselves, and to let go of the things that no longer serve us. So, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what would it feel like to let go of the mental clutter? What if, instead of striving for approval or validation, you simply allowed yourself to be? What if you allowed your mind to rest, to be still, and to experience the joy that comes from being fully present? The power of a simple mind is not just in its ability to bring peace, it's in its ability to bring you back to yourself. And in that simplicity, you'll find a happiness that is deep, lasting, and true. Let go of the mental clutter. Let go of the endless judgments, and allow yourself to embrace the simplicity of being. This is where true happiness begins. Part 4. True peace comes from acceptance, not control. Control. It's something we all crave, yet it's also the very thing that binds us. The world tells us that in order to find peace, we must master everything: our circumstances, our relationships, our environment. We are taught to fight for control, to hold tightly to our desires, and to make sure everything aligns with our expectations. But what happens when life doesn't follow the script we've so carefully written? What happens when the illusion of control slips away and we are left facing the unpredictable nature of life? The truth is, life doesn't follow a script. It doesn't bend to our will or conform to our expectations. The beauty of life lies in its unpredictability, its constant ebb and flow. We cannot control every event, every person, or every outcome. Yet we often try to do just that. We fight against the flow of life, believing that by forcing things to go our way we will find peace. But in doing so, we create inner turmoil. The more we attempt to control, the more we experience anxiety, stress, and frustration. The simple truth is this: control does not bring peace. Acceptance does. Acceptance is the key to unlocking true peace. It is the art of allowing life to unfold as it is, without trying to manipulate or control every outcome. Acceptance does not mean passivity or resignation. It means understanding that there are things beyond our control, and that's okay. It means surrendering the need to control the uncontrollable and learning to trust in the natural flow of life. When we accept the ebb and flow of life, we make space for peace to enter. Consider this for a moment. How much of your stress comes from trying to control something that is simply beyond your reach? How many times have you found yourself in a situation where no matter how hard you tried, things just didn't go as planned? And how did that make you feel? Probably frustrated, anxious, maybe even defeated. But what if instead of struggling, you simply allowed yourself to let go of the need to control the outcome? What if you trusted that life would unfold as it should, even if it wasn't according to your plan? This is where the concept of flow comes into play. Flow is a state of being in which we are fully present in the moment, engaged with life as it is, without trying to force it in any particular direction. It is the natural rhythm of life, the ebb and flow of our experiences. Just as a river flows around obstacles, we too can learn to navigate life by going with the current rather than fighting against it. When we try to control every aspect of our lives, we create resistance. We fight against the very things that are meant to happen. But when we allow ourselves to flow with life, we open ourselves to a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment. The courage to trust in the unfolding of life is one of the most difficult lessons to learn. We are conditioned to believe that we must control our destiny, that we must make everything happen according to our desires. But this belief only causes suffering. The more we resist change, the more we suffer. The more we try to force things to go our way, the more we create friction within ourselves. Acceptance, on the other hand, requires courage. the courage to let go of the need to manage every outcome, the courage to trust that life will unfold in its own time and in its own way. It's important to note that acceptance does not mean giving up. It does not mean we stop striving, stop working towards our goals, or stop caring about what happens in our lives. It simply means that we release the need to control every detail. We let go of the expectation that things must unfold in a certain way, and instead, we embrace the uncertainty of life. When we accept that certain things are out of our control, we free ourselves from the mental burden of trying to manage everything. And in that freedom, we find peace. Life is full of unpredictability. Things don't always go as planned, and people don't always act the way we expect. But it's precisely this unpredictability that makes life rich and vibrant. If we were able to control everything, there would be no room for surprise, growth, or new possibilities. The beauty of life lies in its uncertainty, in its constant unfolding. And when we accept this, we free ourselves to experience life fully, without the burden of expectation or the fear of what might happen next. The resistance to change causes suffering. It's the fear that things won't turn out the way we want them to, the fear of the unknown, the fear of losing control. But when we embrace change with open arms, we allow ourselves to grow, to learn, and to evolve. Change is the natural rhythm of life, and when we resist it, we resist life itself. But when we flow with it, we discover a deeper strength and peace that comes from trusting the process. This is where true peace is found, not in the control of life's events, but in the acceptance of life as it is. Peace comes when we stop fighting against the current and allow ourselves to be carried by it. It's in the surrender, in the letting go, and in the trust that life will take us exactly where we need to go. So, ask yourself, how much peace would you find if you stopped trying to control every detail of your life? How much lighter would you feel if you simply allowed yourself to trust the unfolding of each moment? The key to inner peace is not control, it is acceptance. It is the acceptance that life will unfold as it will, and that we don't have to manage every outcome to be happy. When we accept this, we open ourselves to a deep sense of peace that transcends the chaos of the world. In the end, true peace comes when we let go of the need to control and instead trust the flow of life. It comes when we stop fighting against change and instead embrace it with open arms. This is the freedom that acceptance brings. It's not about giving up, it's about surrendering to the beauty of life as it unfolds. And in that surrender, we find peace. Part 5. Letting go is freedom, not loss. There's a misconception that letting go is the same as losing something of value. Society, for the most part, teaches us that we should hold on tight to everything. Our relationships, our careers, our possessions, our identities, because they define who we are. We fear that if we let go, we will be diminished, as if we would lose a part of ourselves. But the truth is, letting go doesn't lead to loss, it leads to freedom. It is the act of releasing the things that no longer serve us that allows us to grow, evolve, and live a life of purpose and peace. When we let go of something, whether it's a relationship that no longer brings us joy, a job that drains us, or a belief that no longer resonates with who we are, we often fear that we are losing a part of our identity. But in reality, we are creating space for personal growth and transformation. The very thing we thought we could never live without often turns out to be the thing that holds us back from becoming the person we are meant to be. Think about a time when you clung to something, convinced that if you let go, you would lose everything. Perhaps it was a job that drained you, but you held on because you believed it was your only path to success. Maybe it was a relationship that had long since lost its spark, but you stayed because you feared being alone. Or maybe it was a belief about yourself that kept you small, but you held on to it because you thought it was what defined you. In each of these cases, the fear of letting go kept you stuck in a place of limitation. But when you finally released that attachment, whether it was willingly or through circumstance, you found something remarkable: freedom. You discovered that who you are is not defined by what you have or what you hold on to. You are more than your possessions, more than your job, more than your relationships. Your true essence lies within you, not in the things you cling to. Buddhism teaches us that attachment is the root of suffering. We attach ourselves to material things, status, relationships, and even ideas, believing that these things will bring us happiness and fulfillment. But in truth, these attachments only create suffering because they are transient. The people we love may change, our jobs may shift, and our possessions may be lost. When we attach ourselves to these things, we are holding on to something that is impermanent, and that creates anxiety, fear, and the inevitable pain of loss. When we let go, we are not abandoning what we care about. We are simply releasing the grip that we have on these things. By releasing, we allow ourselves to move forward without the weight of attachment holding us back. Letting go is not about giving up. It's about freeing ourselves from the chains of attachment that limit our ability to grow, evolve, and experience true peace. It is through this act of liberation that we begin to live authentically, embracing life with openness and freedom. There are countless examples of people who have felt trapped by their attachments and later found peace by letting go. Take, for example, someone who has spent years in a job that makes them miserable, all because they are afraid of the unknown. The security of a steady paycheck, the familiarity of their routine, and the fear of failure keep them stuck in a position that drains them. But one day, they make the courageous decision to let go of the job that no longer serves them. At first, they may feel the fear of the unknown, the discomfort of change, but in time, they realize that letting go of this attachment has opened the door to new possibilities. They find a new job, one that brings them joy and fulfillment, and they discover a sense of freedom they never thought possible. Similarly, someone who has been holding on to a relationship out of obligation or fear of being alone may eventually come to the realization that they are no longer growing in that relationship. They may fear that letting go means they will be alone forever, but in reality, it is through the act of releasing that they create space for deeper connections with themselves and others. Letting go of a relationship that no longer serves them opens the door to a new chapter in life, one where they can be true to themselves and attract relationships that are aligned with their values. Letting go can also apply to the beliefs and patterns that we hold onto about ourselves. How many of us have internalized limiting beliefs, telling ourselves that we are not good enough, not worthy enough, or not capable of achieving our dreams? These beliefs, often formed in childhood or early adulthood, can become so ingrained in our psyche that we don't even question them. But when we choose to let go of these beliefs, we begin to see ourselves as we truly are, capable, worthy, and deserving of all the happiness and success that life has to offer. By releasing these limiting beliefs, we make space for self-love, confidence, and empowerment. The process of letting go requires mindfulness and compassion. It requires us to be present with our feelings, to acknowledge the attachments we have, and to gently release them. Mindfulness allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, helping us to recognize when we are holding on to something that no longer serves us. Compassion, on the other hand, allows us to be kind to ourselves during the process. Letting go is not an act of rejection or coldness. It is an act of love, both for ourselves and for the things we are releasing. We let go not because we no longer care, but because we care enough to make space for something better. The beauty of letting go is that it is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing practice, a way of living that frees us from the constant grip of attachment. Each time we let go of something, whether it's a possession, a relationship, or a belief, we create space for new experiences, new growth, and new opportunities. And with each release, we become more aligned with our true selves, living a life of authenticity and peace. Letting go is freedom, not loss. It is the freedom to live without the weight of attachments holding us back. It is the freedom to embrace life as it is, with all of its impermanence and beauty. And in that freedom, we find true peace. When we release the things that no longer serve us, we open the door to a life that is more fulfilling, more joyful, and more aligned with our deepest desires. So, What is it that you are still holding on to? What attachments are keeping you from living a life of freedom? Let go of the things that no longer serve you and make space for the things that truly matter. Remember, letting go is not a loss. It is the beginning of your liberation. Part 6. The need for external validation and its downside. We live in a world where the opinions of others often dictate our sense of worth. From the likes on a social media post to the applause of a crowd, we are conditioned to seek external validation as a measure of our value. The more we seek approval from others, the more we find ourselves trapped in a cycle of anxiety, insecurity, and dissatisfaction. The truth is, this constant need for validation does not lead to happiness. It leads to suffering. Think about how often you find yourself checking your phone, not just for messages, but to see how many people liked your post, commented on your photo, or shared your thoughts. Each notification brings a sense of fleeting joy, but it quickly fades, replaced by the need for more validation. Or perhaps it's the approval of friends, family, or colleagues that drives your decisions, the desire to be seen as successful, likable, or admired. We've all been there, seeking reassurance from the outside world that we are good enough, worthy enough, successful enough. But the problem with this is simple. The more we look to others for validation, the more we lose touch with our authentic selves. The more we care about how others perceive us, the more we begin to shape our lives around their expectations. We change our opinions to fit in, wear clothes that reflect what is fashionable, speak in ways that align with popular views, and adjust our behavior to receive praise and approval. We start to live not for ourselves, but for the approval of others. In doing so, we lose the very essence of who we are. Our true selves, the parts of us that are unique, original, and authentic, begin to fade into the background, buried under layers of pretense and performance. This is where Buddhist wisdom provides us with a powerful insight. True self-worth comes from internal alignment, not external validation. The Buddha teaches that our sense of value should come from within, from a deep understanding of our own nature, not from the fleeting opinions of others. We are worthy not because of how many likes we receive or how many people approve of us, but because of who we are at our core. Our worth is intrinsic, not earned through others' praise or recognition. The dangerous cycle of seeking approval is deeply ingrained in modern society, but it is not a new phenomenon. Throughout history, human beings have sought validation from their communities, from their families, and from their peers. The desire for acceptance is a basic human need, but when it becomes the driving force in our lives, it leads to suffering. The more we depend on others to determine our worth, the more we expose ourselves to disappointment and insecurity. After all, people's opinions are unpredictable and ever-changing. One day, they may love us, the next day, they may not. The fleeting nature of external validation can never provide the lasting sense of peace and self-assurance that comes from within. The first step in breaking free from this cycle of people-pleasing is to recognize that we are enough, just as we are. We don't need to change ourselves to fit the mold of what others expect us to be. We are worthy of love, respect, and acceptance simply because we exist. The power of self-acceptance is transformative. It allows us to live authentically, without fear of rejection or judgment. When we embrace who we truly are, we no longer seek external validation because we know that our value comes from within. But breaking free from the need for external approval is not easy. It requires deep introspection and a willingness to trust ourselves, even when the world around us may not approve. It means letting go of the need to be liked by everyone. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent or cold. It means accepting that we cannot please everyone, and that's perfectly okay. We don't have to adjust our behavior or suppress our true selves to gain approval from others. We can live in alignment with our values, our beliefs, and our authentic desires, regardless of what others think. The practice of letting go of the need to be liked by everyone is a deeply liberating act. It frees us from the burden of constant self-monitoring and self-editing. We no longer live our lives as though they are performances meant to win approval. Instead, we live from a place of inner peace, knowing that we are enough just as we are. This shift in mindset doesn't happen overnight, but each small step we take toward authenticity brings us closer to the freedom and peace we seek. It's empowering to recognize that we can trust ourselves to make decisions that are true to our nature, without needing the approval of others. We can listen to our inner voice, that quiet whisper that knows what is best for us, rather than seeking validation from the outside world. And as we do this, we begin to experience a deeper sense of fulfillment. We are no longer chasing after external validation, but instead, we are walking in alignment with our true selves. Living life on our own terms, free from the need to please others, is one of the most powerful forms of freedom we can experience. It is the freedom to express ourselves authentically, to make choices that align with our values, and to live with integrity. When we stop adjusting ourselves for the approval of others, we begin to live with a sense of inner peace that is unshaken by external circumstances. This journey towards self-acceptance and authenticity is not without its challenges. It requires courage, the courage to stand up for ourselves, to trust our inner voice, and to let go of the need for approval. But as we move forward on this path, we find that the weight of seeking external validation lightens. We begin to feel lighter, freer, and more at peace with who we are. And in that peace, we find true happiness. So, take a moment and reflect. How much of your life is driven by the need for external validation? How much energy do you expend trying to please others or win their approval? What would it feel like to let go of that need, to trust yourself, and to live authentically? The journey to self-acceptance may be difficult, but it is also incredibly liberating. Trust yourself. You are enough, just as you are. And when you live from that place of authenticity, you will experience a peace that no external approval can ever give you. Part 7. The Dance with Impermanence. Impermanence. It's a word that often carries a sense of discomfort, of loss, of something slipping through our fingers. Yet it is also the very essence of life itself. Everything in this world is temporary: our emotions, our relationships, our possessions, even our bodies. From the fleeting beauty of a sunset to the changing seasons, life is in a constant state of flux. And yet, we resist this truth. We cling to the idea of permanence, hoping to freeze time, to hold on to the things we love, and to avoid the inevitable passage of change. The irony is that in resisting change, we only create more suffering for ourselves. We try to control life, to make it fit our expectations, but life doesn't adhere to our plans. It flows, it shifts, it evolves. And when we fight against this natural rhythm, when we hold on to things as though they should last forever, we only create resistance. And in that resistance, we find pain, anxiety, and frustration. But what if we stopped fighting? What if, instead of resisting the impermanence of life, we embraced it? What if we saw change not as a threat, but as an opportunity, a chance to grow, to evolve, to experience life fully? The truth is that impermanence is not something to fear. It is something to celebrate. It is through embracing the transient nature of life that we can experience true freedom. When we accept the impermanence of life, we free ourselves from the fear of loss. We no longer need to hold on tightly to things because we understand that nothing lasts forever, and that is perfectly okay. In fact, it is the very impermanence of life that makes it so beautiful. If everything were permanent, nothing would have value. It is the fleeting nature of moments that makes them precious. The joy of a conversation with a friend, the warmth of the sun on your face, the feeling of a hug, these moments are made all the more meaningful because we know they are temporary. The impermanence of emotions is one of the most important realizations we can have. How often do we find ourselves swept away by feelings of sadness, anger, or fear? We can feel overwhelmed by these emotions as though they will last forever. But the truth is, emotions are like waves. They come and go. They are not permanent parts of who we are. When we accept this truth, we can let go of the need to control or suppress our emotions. Instead of fighting against them, We can allow ourselves to feel them fully and then let them pass. This is the dance with impermanence, the ability to experience emotions without being consumed by them. Similarly, relationships are impermanent. People come into our lives for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. But no matter how long they last, relationships are always changing. Some relationships evolve, some fade away, and some end abruptly. The key to peace in relationships is not to try to make them permanent, but to fully experience them in the present moment. When we stop trying to hold on to people or to fix relationships that are no longer healthy, we create space for new connections and growth. We learn to love freely, without fear of losing the other person. We understand that love is not about possession, but about connection and mutual growth. Material possessions are another area where impermanence plays a powerful role. We live in a society that places immense value on accumulating things. We believe that the more we have, the more secure we will feel, but possessions are just as impermanent as relationships and emotions. They break, they get lost, or they lose their value over time. Holding on to possessions as though they define our worth only leads to anxiety and a constant sense of needing more. But when we release the need for material security and accept that things are temporary, we can experience freedom. We stop defining ourselves by what we own, and instead, we define ourselves by who we are, by the love we share, and by the experiences we gather. Accepting impermanence is not a passive act. It requires courage, the courage to let go, to trust, and to embrace life as it unfolds. It means relinquishing the need for control and opening ourselves to the flow of life. It means accepting that change is inevitable and that we cannot stop it, but we can choose how we respond to it. By releasing our attachments to permanence, we create space for new experiences, new opportunities, and new growth. So how do we begin this practice of accepting impermanence? It starts with mindfulness, being fully present in the moment and observing life without clinging to it. One powerful exercise is to simply sit quietly for a few minutes each day and focus on your breath. Notice how the breath comes and goes, just like thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Nothing stays the same for long. By becoming more aware of the temporary nature of our breath, we start to recognize the transience in all aspects of life. Another exercise is to reflect on the impermanence of the people and things around you. Take a moment to appreciate what is in your life right now, without worrying about how long it will last. Let go of the need to control the future and simply be present. Recognize that the fleeting nature of life makes each moment all the more precious. When we embrace impermanence, we stop waiting for the perfect moment and begin to live fully in the one we have right now. The most profound way to embrace impermanence is through surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means letting go of the need to control the outcome and trusting that life will unfold as it should. It means allowing ourselves to experience the ups and downs of life without clinging to the idea that everything should remain the same. In surrendering to impermanence, we find peace. We stop resisting change and instead we flow with it. We allow life to guide us, to teach us, and to transform us. The dance with impermanence is a delicate one. It requires a deep understanding of life's transience and a willingness to let go of what no longer serves us. But in doing so, we find freedom. We release the fear of loss, and we open ourselves to the beauty and joy that come with embracing life as it is. In the end, it is through the acceptance of impermanence that we experience the fullness of life, with all its richness, diversity, and unpredictability. So, I invite you to dance with impermanence. Let go of the need for permanence and embrace the flow of life. When you do, you will discover a freedom that can only be found in the present moment. A freedom that comes when you stop resisting change and begin to move with it. It is in this dance with impermanence that you will find true peace, and in that peace you will find yourself. Part 8. From Disappointment to Liberation. Disappointment. It's something we all experience at some point in our lives. It feels heavy, like a dark cloud that looms over us, weighing us down with its uncertainty. We set expectations, we build plans, we chase dreams, and when reality doesn't meet our hopes, we are often left with a sense of defeat. In those moments, disappointment feels like a personal failure, a reminder that we aren't good enough, or that we didn't try hard enough. But what if we could reframe disappointment, seeing it not as a setback but as an opportunity for growth? What if we understood that the very thing we fear, the disappointment, could become the gateway to liberation? When disappointment strikes, it often carries with it a sense of loss. We lose something, whether it's an opportunity, a relationship, or the realization of a dream. In that moment, it's easy to spiral into self-doubt, questioning our worth or ability. But Buddhism teaches us that failure and loss are not things to be feared. Instead, they are part of the human experience, stepping stones on the path to spiritual awakening. Through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, disappointment can be seen not as a personal failing, but as a chance to deepen our understanding, to detach from the ego, and to embrace the impermanence of life. In this way, what we often perceive as defeat becomes the key to our liberation. Take a moment to reflect on a time when you were deeply disappointed. Perhaps it was the end of a relationship, the failure of a business venture, or the collapse of a dream you had worked so hard to build. In those moments, disappointment feels like a brick wall, blocking our path forward. It's tempting to believe that it's the end of the road, that our journey has reached its limit. But what if, instead of seeing disappointment as an obstacle, we saw it as a doorway, an opening to something greater than we had imagined? There are countless stories of people who have faced failure and disappointment, only to emerge stronger, wiser, and more liberated than before. Take the story of someone who lost their job after years of dedication and hard work. At first, the sense of disappointment and failure was overwhelming, but through the process of letting go of the attachment to the job and embracing the uncertainty of the future, they discovered new passions, new opportunities, and a deeper sense of purpose. The failure wasn't the end of their journey. It was a turning point, a moment of liberation that allowed them to live a more authentic, fulfilling life. In Buddhism, setbacks are not seen as punishments or signs of weakness, but as opportunities for spiritual awakening. Every challenge, every disappointment, is a chance to let go of the attachment to what we thought we wanted and to open ourselves to what is truly meant for us. The Buddha taught that suffering is a part of life, but it is through suffering that we grow. The key is not to avoid disappointment, but to learn from it. Instead of letting it define us, we can use it as a tool for self-discovery and inner peace. How can we embrace failure without letting it define us? It starts with shifting our perspective. When disappointment strikes, our first instinct is often to blame ourselves or others. We become consumed with regret, shame, or anger. But what if we stopped blaming and started reflecting? What if we asked ourselves, what is this disappointment trying to teach me? What can I learn from this experience that will help me grow? Instead of viewing disappointment as the end of the road, we can see it as a detour, guiding us to a new path, one that may be more aligned with our true purpose. The process of reframing disappointment requires courage. It requires the courage to let go of the need for control, the courage to accept that life does not always unfold as we expect it to. It requires the courage to trust that, even in the face of disappointment, there is something greater at play, a divine force, the universe, or our higher self, guiding us toward the life we are meant to live. This courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward in spite of it. It is the courage to embrace change, to embrace failure, and to embrace the unknown with open arms. One of the most powerful practices in reframing disappointment is mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to be present with our emotions, to observe them without judgment, and to allow them to pass through us without becoming attached to them. When disappointment arises, mindfulness invites us to sit with it, to feel it fully, and to let it go. By observing our emotions without judgment, We free ourselves from the grip of negative thought patterns that keep us trapped in the past. Instead of being consumed by disappointment, we can choose to release it and move forward with a sense of clarity and peace. Another important practice is self-compassion. In moments of disappointment, it's easy to be hard on ourselves, to criticize ourselves for not doing enough or for not measuring up to some imagined standard. But self-compassion allows us to treat ourselves with kindness, to acknowledge that we are human and that failure is a part of the journey. When we can be compassionate with ourselves, we are better able to move through disappointment without internalizing it. We can accept that we are not defined by our failures, but by our ability to rise from them. Reframing disappointment also means letting go of the attachment to outcomes. We live in a world that is obsessed with results. We are taught that success is measured by tangible achievements, by what we accomplish, how much money we make, how many accolades we receive. But life is not just about achieving goals. It's about the journey, the lessons we learn along the way. When we let go of the need for a specific outcome and embrace the process, we free ourselves from the pressure of constant achievement. We learn to appreciate the present moment, no matter where it leads us. Disappointment is not the end. It is the beginning of a new chapter. It is the invitation to release old attachments and to make room for new growth. It is the opportunity to shift from a mindset of defeat to one of freedom, from a place of lack to a place of abundance. It is in the face of disappointment that we discover the true nature of our strength. We learn that we are not defined by what we lose, but by our ability to let go, to adapt, and to grow. So, the next time disappointment knocks on your door, welcome it. See it not as a failure, but as an opportunity for spiritual awakening. Trust that everything happens for a reason, and that every setback is simply a redirection towards something greater. And in the process, you will find not only liberation from the chains of attachment, but also the peace that comes from knowing that you are enough, just as you are. Part 9. Creating space for presence. In today's world where every moment is filled with distraction, it's hard to imagine truly being present. We're constantly moving, constantly doing, constantly planning for the next thing. Our minds are filled with the noise of what's to come, the to-do lists, the expectations, the desires, and the worries. In the midst of this rush, we forget the most important thing, to simply be, to experience life as it is without the clutter of overthinking, the weight of expectation, or the pressure to achieve. True peace, true connection, lies in the present moment, and yet we often miss it, caught up in the swirl of life's demands. The key to unlocking a deeper sense of joy and fulfillment is learning how to create space for presence. We are all familiar with the feeling of rushing through life, barely taking a moment to breathe before moving on to the next task or the next worry. In this fast-paced world, we are constantly on the go, trying to meet deadlines, accomplish goals, or live up to expectations. But in doing so, we are losing the beauty of the present moment, the only moment that truly exists. And in that loss, we miss out on the richness and depth that life has to offer. The mental and emotional clutter that fills our minds is one of the greatest obstacles to experiencing life fully. Our thoughts race from one thing to the next, never allowing us to settle into the present moment. We obsess over the past, regret the mistakes we've made, or we worry about the future, wondering what might happen next. In doing so, we are not living in the present. We are living in a state of distraction, constantly pulled away from the reality of what is happening right now. This mental clutter prevents us from truly experiencing life. How often do we find ourselves thinking about what we need to do next while we are in the middle of doing something else? How many times have we had a conversation, only to realize we were not fully listening because our minds were elsewhere? How many times have we rushed through a meal, a walk, or a moment with someone, only to realize later that we were not truly present? The busyness of our minds steals the richness of life, and as a result, we miss the depth, the beauty, and the peace that are available to us in every moment. To cultivate true presence, we must first learn to let go of the distractions that keep us from the moment. This means consciously choosing to step away from the noise of the world, to turn off the mental chatter, and to allow ourselves to fully engage with what is happening right now. It's about finding stillness in the chaos, grounding ourselves in the present, and making space for mindfulness. The Buddhist practice of mindfulness offers powerful tools for creating this space. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully aware and present in the moment, without judgment or distraction. It is the act of observing our thoughts, feelings, and experiences with curiosity and acceptance, without getting lost in them. Through mindfulness, we can create a calm and clear mind that allows us to experience life deeply. We begin to see things as they truly are, without the filter of our judgments or expectations. And in doing so, we open ourselves to the beauty of each moment. One of the most effective ways to practice mindfulness is through breathing. Our breath is always with us, yet it's often the first thing we overlook when we are caught in the rush of life. Taking a moment to focus on the breath, to slow down, to breathe deeply, and to feel the rise and fall of the chest can instantly bring us back to the present. By focusing on the breath, we can clear the clutter of our minds and recenter ourselves in the moment. It's a simple practice, but it's incredibly powerful in creating space for presence. Another way to cultivate presence is by letting go of expectations. Expectations are a subtle form of attachment. They are the mental stories we tell ourselves about how things should be. When we expect things to go a certain way, we are already creating a gap between our present reality and our desired outcome. This gap creates dissatisfaction because we are constantly comparing what is happening to what we think should be happening. Letting go of expectations means allowing life to unfold as it will, without trying to force it into a mold. It means accepting that things may not always go as planned, and that's okay. In fact, that's where the beauty lies. Life is full of surprises, and when we let go of expectations, we allow ourselves to experience the unexpected with openness and grace. In addition to breathing and letting go of expectations, another powerful practice for creating space for presence is mindfulness in everyday activities. We often think of mindfulness as something we do during meditation, but it is equally valuable in our daily lives. Whether we are washing dishes, walking down the street, or having a conversation, we can choose to be fully present in those moments. Instead of letting our minds wander to the past or the future, we can bring our attention to the task at hand, noticing the sensations, sounds, and feelings that arise in each moment. By practicing mindfulness in our everyday activities, we begin to cultivate a deeper connection with life, and we start to experience the richness of the present. Letting go of the constant rush and pressure is also essential for creating space for presence. We live in a world that constantly tells us to do more, to achieve more, to be more. The pressure to perform, to succeed, and to keep up with others is overwhelming. But this constant rush prevents us from being fully present. We are always thinking about the next thing, the next goal, the next deadline, and as a result, we miss the beauty of what is happening right now. Letting go of the pressure to be constantly on the go allows us to slow down and experience life more fully. It gives us the freedom to savor the present moment without the burden of future expectations. The more we practice presence, the more we realize that life is not about achieving or accumulating, but about experiencing. It's about being fully alive in each moment, without the need to constantly strive for more. Presence is the gateway to peace. It is through presence that we can let go of the noise in our minds, the distractions and the pressures, and reconnect with the beauty and serenity of the world around us. So, take a deep breath. Stop for a moment. Let go of the distractions, the worries, and the mental clutter that keep you from fully experiencing life. Reconnect with the present moment and embrace the beauty that is right in front of you. Life is happening now. Don't miss it. Practice presence, and in that practice, you will find the peace you've been seeking. The more you embrace presence, the more you will discover that life's true beauty lies not in the future, not in what we plan or what we expect, but in the here and now. It is in the simplicity of the present moment that we find the most profound joy and peace. Let go, breathe, and be fully present. This is where true fulfillment lies. Part 10. The final act of letting go, living free. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize the weight they've been carrying is no longer theirs to hold. It may be a slow, subtle awareness, or it may strike suddenly, an epiphany that changes the course of life forever. This moment is the culmination of the journey of letting go, where the burden of expectations, attachments, and the need for external validation are lifted, and in their place, freedom blossoms. Living free is not a vague ideal but a tangible experience. It's the final act of letting go, where the fear of what others think, the pressure to meet unrealistic expectations, and the constant striving to prove oneself no longer hold power over us. In this space, peace becomes our natural state, and the desire to control life fades away, replaced by a sense of calm acceptance. This is the gift of letting go, the freedom to live as we are, not as we think we should be. The final shift on this journey is from seeking external validation to living for one's own truth. For much of our lives, we are conditioned to look outside ourselves for approval. We seek the praise of others, the recognition of our accomplishments, and the love of people who may not even truly understand who we are at our core. We try to shape our lives to fit into boxes defined by society's standards. But at some point, we come to a profound realization. This external validation does not bring true happiness. True fulfillment comes when we stop looking for approval from others and start living in alignment with our own truth. The journey of letting go teaches us that we are enough as we are, without the need to prove ourselves, without the constant approval seeking, and without the fear of judgment. We learn to stop adjusting our behavior to fit the expectations of others and begin to show up authentically in the world. Living with a quiet heart is a powerful expression of this shift. When we are no longer driven by the noise of external demands and the constant chatter of what we should be doing, we create space for true peace. The heart that once beat with anxiety over pleasing others now beats steadily, calmly, with acceptance of who we are. The quiet heart is one that has released the fear of being judged, the need for external recognition, and the internal struggle of living up to impossible standards. It is free from the noise of expectations and the endless pressure to be something other than what we already are. Living authentically means embracing our true selves, without the masks, without the roles we feel we must play, without the burdens we've carried for too long. It means standing in the truth of who we are, regardless of how the world may see us. This authenticity is not about being perfect, it's about being real. It's about showing up as we are with all of our flaws, vulnerabilities, and unique qualities and being at peace with that. It's the recognition that we don't need to be anyone else. We are enough just as we are. The lessons of letting go, once fully embodied, can transform the way we live our daily lives. We begin to approach everything with a sense of grace and humility, recognizing that we are not here to compete, to prove, or to impress. We are here to experience life, to learn, to love, and to grow. We let go of the need for perfection and allow ourselves to make mistakes, to be imperfect, and to find beauty in the process of living. We no longer hold ourselves to unattainable standards, and in doing so, we find a freedom that is both liberating and deeply fulfilling. To live authentically is to embrace every part of ourselves, the light and the dark, the strengths and the weaknesses, the joys and the sorrows, and to understand that all of it is part of who we are. There is no need to hide behind a facade or to wear a mask for the sake of others. We can be unapologetically ourselves, knowing that in our authenticity, we are more than enough. Letting go is not just about releasing the things we think we should release. It's about allowing ourselves to embrace the life we've been given exactly as it is. We stop fighting against the natural flow of life, and instead we flow with it. We stop resisting the changes, the losses, the disappointments, and the unpredictability of life. We accept that life will never go exactly as we plan, and that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's the beauty of life. The surprises, the unexpected twists, the moments of wonder and awe, all of these things are possible when we let go of the need to control every outcome. When we stop trying to force life into a mold, we allow it to unfold in its own way. This is where true freedom lies, not in the rigid control of every situation, but in the graceful surrender to what is. It's the ability to move with the flow of life, rather than fighting against it. It's the recognition that life, in all its unpredictability, is a beautiful, ever-changing dance, and our job is not to control the rhythm but to move with it. Living free is not a destination. It's a way of being. It's about living each moment with openness and acceptance, without the need to force things into a particular shape. It's about trusting that everything will unfold as it should, and that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way. It's about finding peace not in the absence of challenges, but in the presence of our own strength, resilience, and ability to navigate life with grace. The ultimate gift of letting go is the ability to live authentically, peacefully, and fully. It's the freedom to be ourselves, to love without fear, to experience life without the constant pressure to measure up. It's the peace that comes when we stop striving for approval, and instead, we embrace the present moment as it is. This peace is not found in external circumstances, but in the deep acceptance of who we are and where we are in life. Letting go is the final act of liberation. It is the release of all the things we've held onto so tightly, the fears, the doubts, the expectations, and the acceptance of ourselves and the world as they are. In this act of release we find freedom. In this freedom we find peace. And in this peace we find ourselves. So take a deep breath. Let go of the burden you've been carrying. Let go of the need to prove, to control, to impress. Embrace who you are exactly as you are. Live authentically. Live freely. And in doing so, you will experience the true peace that comes when we stop trying to hold on and simply allow life to unfold as it is meant to. The journey of letting go is one that each of us must take, but it is not a journey that is often easy or straightforward. As we move through life, we accumulate attachments to people, things, outcomes, and even our own expectations. These attachments shape our sense of self, our sense of security, and our sense of happiness. However, as we begin to understand the true nature of life, we come to realize that these attachments, while they may seem comforting, are often the very things that hold us back from experiencing the peace and freedom we desire. In the beginning, we may not even realize how tightly we are holding on to these attachments. We may not recognize how much mental energy is spent on worrying about the future, regretting the past, or seeking approval from others. But as we reflect on our lives, we begin to see the burden we carry, the weight of expectations, the need to control, the fear of losing. We begin to understand that the pursuit of external validation, the constant striving for success and approval, and the fear of change are what keep us trapped in cycles of stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. The first step in this journey of letting go is to recognize that peace does not come from holding on to these attachments, but from releasing them. Peace is not about controlling everything or forcing life to unfold according to our desires. True peace is found in acceptance, accepting ourselves, accepting others, and accepting life as it is. This acceptance does not mean passivity. Rather, it is an active choice to let go of the need to control and to trust in the natural flow of life. Throughout this journey, we encounter many obstacles. The fear of change, the fear of losing, and the fear of letting go are powerful forces that can keep us stuck in our old ways of thinking. But as we begin to practice mindfulness and self-awareness, we begin to see that these fears are based on illusion. Nothing in life is permanent. Everything is subject to change, and this is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. Impermanence is what makes life so precious, so beautiful. It is the ebb and flow of life that gives it its depth and richness, and it is through letting go of the need for permanence that we can fully experience the joy and freedom that life has to offer. As we let go of our attachments, we also begin to release the mental clutter that prevents us from being fully present in the moment. We stop overthinking, stop replaying past mistakes, stop worrying about the future. Instead, we allow ourselves to simply be. We let go of the need to perform, to impress, to please others, and instead, we learn to live authentically. We discover that happiness does not come from external achievements or possessions, but from within. It comes from living in alignment with our true selves, from embracing the present moment, and from letting go of everything that no longer serves us. Through the process of letting go, we also learn to embrace failure, disappointment, and loss as opportunities for growth. We begin to understand that setbacks are not signs of failure, but invitations to shift our perspective. Disappointment does not have to define us. It can be the catalyst for change, the doorway to new possibilities. In Buddhism, we learn that suffering is not something to avoid, but something to embrace with mindfulness and compassion. It is through our struggles that we grow, evolve, and find deeper meaning in life. Letting go is not about giving up. It is about creating space for something greater to enter our lives. It is about freeing ourselves from the chains of attachment and stepping into a life of freedom, peace, and authenticity. When we stop holding on to the past, to the need for control, and to the fear of change, we make room for new opportunities, new relationships, and new experiences. We allow life to unfold as it is meant to, and in doing so, we discover a sense of calm and fulfillment that transcends external circumstances. The ultimate gift of letting go is the freedom to live authentically, to live without the burden of expectations or the need for validation. It is the freedom to be ourselves, to make decisions based on our own truth, and to experience life without the constant pressure to meet external standards. When we let go of the need to please others, we find the courage to trust ourselves, to listen to our inner voice, and to live in alignment with our deepest desires. Living free is not about achieving perfection or eliminating all challenges. It is about accepting life as it comes, embracing its uncertainties, and moving forward with grace and confidence. It is about understanding that peace comes from within, not from external achievements or possessions. The more we practice letting go, the more we begin to experience a deep sense of inner calm, a sense of peace that is unshaken by the ups and downs of life. And in this peace, we find our true strength. This journey of letting go is one that requires courage, self-awareness, and patience. It is a journey that may be difficult at times, but it is also the most rewarding one we can take. As we continue to release the things that no longer serve us, we create space for joy, love, and authenticity to enter our lives. And in doing so, we begin to live fully, peacefully, and authentically. The deepest lesson we can take from this journey is that true peace and freedom come when we release the need to control, to cling, and to seek approval. When we stop defining ourselves by what we have or what others think of us, we discover the beauty of simply being. By letting go of the attachments that hold us back, we open ourselves to a life of limitless possibilities. We stop living for others and begin to live for ourselves, authentically, peacefully, and fully. This lesson can be applied to every area of life. Whether it's relationships, career choices, or personal growth, we can all benefit from letting go of the need to control and the fear of loss. By embracing impermanence, by accepting ourselves as we are, and by trusting in the natural flow of life, we create space for the life we were always meant to live. Reflection. Now, I invite you to reflect on your own life. What are you holding on to? What attachments are preventing you from living fully and authentically? What would it feel like to let go of the fear of loss, the need for validation, and the pressure to meet external expectations? How would your life change if you embraced the beauty of impermanence and trusted that everything will unfold as it should? Your thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections on this journey of letting go. How has this idea of letting go resonated with you? What has been the most challenging part for you? Feel free to share your experiences, insights, and questions in the comments below. Let's create a space where we can all learn from one another and continue this journey together. If you found this video insightful and inspiring, please consider subscribing to Buddhism in every moment. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content that can guide you toward greater peace, understanding, and personal growth. By subscribing, you'll be part of a community that values authenticity, mindfulness, and the transformative power of letting go. Thank you for being with us on this journey, and I look forward to sharing more wisdom with you in future videos.